All right, greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my co-host, the minister, Samuel.
Hey, welcome back again to Live Talk.
Indeed, it is a good time to be live. Right before we get into anything, we're going to go over our general statement and our disclaimer. General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando. All right, welcome back. We always have to get that in because we want to make sure that we're doing things decently and in order. So, Minister, how have you been, brother?
I've been doing wonderful. Just great, man. Thanks to our production and producing staff to get that disclaimer perfected.
Right. Remember I used to say that. That was a lot.
Yeah, too much. Somebody took that burden off, so we certainly appreciate that.
Right, and we want to make sure it's clear when it comes to our program and our show. You know, my last 2 weeks been pretty good. You know, been busy. You know, we're in the middle of tax season, so we're always trying to make sure that we stay up to date on the most current laws and assisting and helping our clients. So that's a beautiful thing. So that's how my week been. My last 2 weeks been digging in books and laws, research.
In other words, you got your track shoes on one foot, and you're wearing out both pencils and both pens in both hands.
Right. All right, so before we get into anything else, we just want to give you a rundown of the show today. First, we'll have the minister word of today. Right after that, we'll go to a short commercial break. And then our main topic today, we will be recognizing a local businesswoman who has made a difference in many lives in the community. And then right after that, we'll go to another commercial break just to kind of give us a break, but we're going to continue on that topic. And then we'll end with a motivational quote, a reading by the host. So, with no further ado, Minister, what is the word of today?
I'm going to do a real quick shout out. Today's my daughter tomorrow's birthday, so I want to give her a shout out, let her know
well, let's give her applause. Let's give her applause.
That she made it to another day.
Right.
We want to jump in with our word of today, and our word of today is going to be success.
Right.
And let me get my notes here. Success can be defined as a term that means different things to different people. For some, success may mean reaching a certain level of financial stability or professional achievement. In contrast, for others, success may mean having a fulfilling personal life or positively impacting the world. Success is and can be subjective. Some people, for example, may define success in terms of material possessions, while others may define it in terms of personal growth and development. Some people prioritize their career or professional achievements, while others prioritize their relationships or personal well-being. Ultimately, success is something that you define for yourself based on your values, passions, and goals. And I wanted to share a quote from a very successful woman, since this is Women's History Month.
Right.
And we're going to be bringing a successful woman on our show.
Right.
The quote states, "I was once afraid of people saying, 'Who does she think she is?' Now, I have the courage to stand up and say, 'This is who I am.'" And that quote came from Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah. This is who I am. Now that's powerful. You know I am. You know who I am is, right?
See, the I am. See, she went a lot deeper than the surface.
Right.
But from where she was to where she is, it's a testament.
It truly is. You know, we talk about that, and you lift out some very important points there when you talk about success and what success means to an individual. You know, because we all have our own definition of what we consider success,
Right.
and I think we need to all take that into consideration. Just because a person, I think we had my brother-in-law on the show, and he felt like his story.
Yes.
You know, he felt like he didn't meet a certain standard, so he didn't feel like his story meant anything. But you have excelled, and you have succeeded.
Yeah.
You conquered and beat the giant. You know, that's success.
He had a mountain of success.
Right.
He climbed the hill so far, he didn't realize he was standing on top of a mountain.
Right. And success ain't you made $1 million. It ain't all about the money. It's about those values that you just mentioned. It's about the values that really touch you, you know.
Right.
That's what really success is all about. So thank you, brother, for that word of today. And we'll get deeper into that. So for right now, we'll go to a quick commercial break, and we'll come back with our guests.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
All right, welcome back to Live Talk. As mentioned before, we have a special guest with us here today. This sister is an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a wife and mother. She owns and operates 2 businesses, Scott Capital Finance and Scott & Associates Accounting Firm. She also sits on multiple boards here in the city of Apopka, including the Apopka Chamber of Commerce. She was the first African-American woman to own and operate a franchise H&R Block location in Central Florida. Let's give her applause for that one.
In the state of Florida.
Right. And not only that, the location she has was in top 100 out of 3,000 franchise locations nationally, that is. I can go on and on about this sister, all her accolades, but thank goodness she's here with us today, and she can help us out with this.
And I'm honored to be here today.
So with no further ado, welcome to the show, Miss Finance Pro, Angela, a.k.a. Abigail. Let's welcome her to the show with another applause.
I want to personally thank you too for just even taking time to recognize women for Women's History Month. It means a lot when our brothers give us our flowers.
Indeed.
Welcome.
Welcome. So with all the great things that you are doing in business in the community, where all this started from?
Woo! Ooh. That you just want to come heavy with the heavy with the questions. Honestly, well, according to my mother, she would say all the time that entrepreneurship was a path that she always knew I was going to go on. Based on, most parents, they sit their children on their lap and they're just like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my brother, I'm going to be a firefighter or a policeman. And my sister, I'm going to be a teacher. And my mom's like, no, you're going to be a nurse. And then I was just adamant because I think she tried to tell me I was going to be a teacher. And I was like, no, I'm going to be a chocolate ice cream man, whatever that was at 5. I was like, I'm going to be a chocolate ice cream man. So for her, I always knew that I was going to be she always knew I was going to be in business for herself because she tried to talk me out of it. And I was like, no.
Chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, and that's what I'm selling and that's what I'm doing. But, later on as an adult and, as a woman and a woman of color, just being real, because I always want to be real on any opportunity that I get to speak on. The truth of the matter is I wanted to have my degree like most people, and I wanted to believe in corporate America and, that saying of climbing that corporate ladder. So for me, at first, I started off on a path where it's like, okay, I want to work hard, go to college, get a degree, and make my way to having that corner office. That's the picture that they paint with benefits and all that other stuff that comes with it. Well, at a very young age, corporate America, going through that experience, I knew would not suit me. And so I was blessed to have a spouse that was heavy on entrepreneurship, and his words is what resonated within me when he said, I will never allow another man to determine how I provide for my family and how my future is going to. I will never put my future in someone else's hands. And so that kind of burned me enough to put me on a corporate path to wanting to be self-employed, because at the time it was said to me, I was just lost. I had left one corporate career because, again, I was tired of all the politics and, still left a good job with benefits and good health care to start a new career. And not even 2 months later, I get fired. And so, of course, no one likes to be fired. That's when you feel broken. And so in that brokenness, hearing those words, it's like, okay, I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to, become an entrepreneur. But then in that entrepreneur journey, I was also finding myself religiously. And so I always have to give credit where credit is due, because we started to have Bible studies at our home. And, sleep in peace to Elder, Jacob.
Yeah,
Jacob, yes.
He had a whole library series with the Boston one, and a lot of y'all have been always teaching, like tapes and series of teaching entrepreneurship, like from a scriptural and spiritual standpoint. And that those teachings, like, it's crazy, but we used to study from like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and sometimes not stop till 6 p.m. like in the evening. So just imagine going from like a 10 a.m. to, it was like a boot camp I needed or something. But I would be so fired up and drained, like through those teachings. I had a business plan. Like you couldn't tell me that I was going to fail. There was just no way I was going to fail. I knew too much. I was way too empowered and sure of myself. And that is important as a Black woman, because society loves to tear us down. It tells us that we are the last. So to be put in a position where you know that you are the finest of his creations, and you understand your true power and why and how that can intimidate others, you walk different, you talk different. And that was important, because in society again, where we are constantly being torn down, where we're told that we can't be too loud and too proud, where we want to go on Weight Watchers because we always constantly look at our weight because, we made a little thicker. It felt good to just be empowered and have something that we could pull into. So spiritually, I needed that transition, but it was a lot of factors, I would say, that led me to entrepreneurship. And it's been a journey, but it's been a great journey.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna see because y'all so close. He came out throwing a fastball at you.
A big fastball. So it's like, okay.
So I'm gonna back it up. He didn't even give. How are you doing this? How are you doing this morning? Before he threw a fastball at you.
Well,
Okay.
very excited. This is a very busy season, and I'm happy to be busy.
Right.
We are celebrating 17 years this month in Women's History Month. 17 years as, Scott and Associates accounting firm. But honestly, it's been more like 19 years in business. But with my articles, 17 years.
And I just want to tell you, I love what you did with your hair.
Oh, thank you.
And I've been knowing you for a long time, and we got some notes, and you said some things, and we go follow it, but you said some things, and I want to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Because you've been in business for a long time now.
Yes.
And you kind of at a, you get to plateaus in business, you get comfortable and you take the next step.
Yes.
And in business, it's always, okay, wow, I made it to here. And
Yes.
it's like, oh my God, now I got to go to another plateau. But see, the beauty of being an entrepreneur, and this is for some, especially for people who new in business.
Yeah.
And especially for women, women have it tougher. Black
do.
women got it twice as tough. We just got to
We
be
really do.
honest. So it's like being in corporate America. I heard you, that we want to get that validation that you made it from someone else, but that glass ceiling is for real.
It is.
And just to take it back, like for Black women specifically, some of the challenges you had to overcome. And you talked about the foundation of who you are, but those are real challenges that are still there.
Absolutely.
And what did you kind of do to overcome some of those challenges, stereotypes that they put on Black women?
I had to never be afraid to simply address it. But being very real and, to give advice to anyone that wants to consider entrepreneurship, especially when you are a Black woman and a woman of color, because other nationalities typically have each other to lean on. And I'm not going to say that we don't, because we do.
It's growing.
Yeah, we're getting better, but we're still divided. Our support system among each other isn't as strong as it should be. Some of us are even, for whatever reason, harder on each other because we want to give that tough love and we want to have that tough skin. It's like, I don't need you to have or try to make me have tough skin. Being a Black woman, you think I don't have tough skin? We go through it all already. But, I just have to be real. If you don't have a good support system, it's hard. But sometimes that support system has to be spiritually. For me, it was spiritually. Spiritually, I always had the word that I could go back on to know who I was. And so the more I know who I was truly, people could never intimidate me. Like, I went from always feeling like the smallest person in the room, especially when I started, because I felt like I didn't really have a lot of accolades. So I think as a Black woman, sometimes we always felt like we had to prove ourselves. So once I felt like I don't have nothing to prove, you prove yourself. Like, I'm in this room like you. So what do I have to prove? And so, sometimes we make people uncomfortable, and there's power in that. We're thinking that, people are making us uncomfortable. Well, we make them as equally uncomfortable. So just walk in the room and be the authentic version of yourself. And, God will prosper you.
That's true. You said a mouthful full.
I usually do.
Because when we thinking about success, and you know we talked about success when we started the show off, and when we're talking about what does success look like to you. So that same question I'm gonna spin around. When we thinking about success, what does success look like to you?
Success to me today looks a lot different, of course. Being that I've been in business, so success means that I can, because this is what I'm striving for, have control over my time. Success means having the ability to spend time with my loved ones. You know, you gave me a couple titles. You forgot to put grandma in there. And so I got to make sure I spend time with those babies. Right. Like I got a play date with my baby later on today. So, you know, success is making, you know, memories, but most importantly, success, because as an entrepreneur, that's what we strive for. Man, when you get to rely on your business 100% to pay your bills, like forget about six figures. If you are running your business and you can pay your bills and provide a shelter for yourself and eat every day, you are successful.
Hey.
You super successful. So that is success to me.
You said a mouthful there.
Yeah.
You name your own success. Don't let someone else define
Absolutely.
it for you.
Yeah.
Because you'll never meet up to someone else's
You
expectations.
never will, and you have to start somewhere because entrepreneurship is hard. Like social media makes it look so pretty. I wish someone would show the real version of it. You know, the nights that you cry, the times that you want to give up. Like those 17 years in business weren't perfect. I definitely dropped some resumes and looked for jobs. Like I had a profile too. It had its ups and downs. Things were tough, but it's in sticking it out, and when you finally get that epiphany and make it to the other side, that's when you can sit back and love and really pour into other people. So I'm happy to be in that position, but I never forgot how hard it was. And to me, I honestly think that it's sad because it's like 17 years later to finally see the light. It took 17 years to see the light.
That means it doesn't happen overnight.
It sure don't. It sure does not. It's like I should have been in therapy.
It requires a lot of dedication,
Absolutely.
a lot of hard work. But see, you gave out some nuggets that people. I'm gonna point out the nuggets to you. Get them out, they might not hear it. Of being able to take care of yourself and your family, because you at a point you're not looking for someone else to do that for you.
No,
you do that for yourself,
right?
And you define that success.
Yeah,
you're not waiting for somebody else.
I'm not.
It's nice to know that your success is based on the person you see in the mirror, not having to knock on someone's door, or like, see, as a man, if a man is driven, you go into corporate, you can be driven. They say, oh, he's driven.
Yeah.
But when a woman, especially a black woman, you want to call her name for being driven. Mm-hmm. Okay, but then so now you don't want to be called a name. And now they go say, oh, you're not meeting up with the standards. But when you exceed the standards of a man, they want to say, she's a B, or she got a problem. Mm-hmm. But if a man does it, that's a great thing. Yeah. Oh, he's pushing the business forward. But if a woman do it, oh, something is wrong with her.
Absolutely.
Because she wants to be successful. Mm-hmm. But that's because somebody else wants to define your success.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so happy to be grounded in marriage, because oftentimes that would happen because early in our career path, in understanding our personalities, you know, Mr. Scott said, you're going to be the face of our company. You're going to be the voice. You're going to be the brand. You're a people person. You know, you'll walk in the room, 20 minutes later, you know half the room. You're going to be the face. And so, and being the face and constantly being the one that used to do radio, make the commercials, even go out and hand out the flyers that, you know, used to print in our slow little printer. People often found, oh, she run her husband, or what does he do? What does he do? Everything else. It's a lot of work behind this, and keep me grounded and sane because I've had to be the face. So a lot of the brunt I had to take on. So it's a lot of stereotype that comes with that when you want to be a brand as a woman. Because once again, women, and honestly too, women of all races kind of tear each other down. Don't know why. Women are so competitive with one another. So it's like it's only one or two ways. Either we're super competitive or super supportive. But I hate when we take on that competitive nature because there's so much that we all face, especially in this new age, right? Because we just got permission, I'll say, and I say that loosely, we just got permission to be successful businesswomen. Before it was about being, the homemaker. And so sometimes when we would try to balance both, like myself included, trying to be a businesswoman for 10 hours and then the other 10 hours, now you got to be a wife, a mom, a maid, a chef, a nurse, you got to run the laundromat. That's a lot to take on. And so with women, we often get burned out and tired. But who told us we had to take on so many roles? We lied to ourselves in trying to take all of that on. It's like, no, you don't. What's wrong with your son? He can't wash his own clothes?
They setting you up for failure.
Yes. You don't have to be that super mom. So I just love when couples are couples and having real conversations to say, what does your week look like? What is your week? Well, we know we got to do this, we got to do that, getting help outside of the home. It's like, look, the best thing a laundromat ever did was offer wash and fold. Who knew? And then they charge you by the pound. Like, you can just take all your dirty clothes, put it in a garbage bag, drop it off and pick it up, and it's going to smell good, and they fold it. All you got to do is put it away, or maybe not put it away. And that costs about $40. I hope I'm helping somebody. I hope I'm helping somebody.
Instead of working all night?
Yes. Well, I've learned there was things like that you could do to get help and to, but going back to what was originally said, it's still hard for us. But what's easy is when you have the right support at your own home. And you're not afraid to take on the stereotypes because you're still going to get stereotyped.
And that's true. And I say most so, not only you're a woman, but you're a dark-skinned woman. And when you look at society and stepping into the place, you have always been that. See, you said
you trying to have me go through therapy on this show.
You said something that was so powerful and so true. And it goes back to the quote that you said, Minister, in the beginning with Oprah Winfrey. You know who you are. A lot of women don't know who they are. And a lot of women try to become be accepted in this system. So they try to do everything accordingly so that they are accepted. But you have looked beyond that.
Yeah.
You have seen that, if anything, prove yourself to me.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a quick story with that because I found myself trying to be accepted. I got all kind of wigs in the top of my closet to show the many transformations of myself. But years ago, there was like a professional organization, and I got a part of this organization at a very young age, and I was made to feel like I didn't belong.
Right.
And I wanted to leave this organization because oftentimes I would feel out of place and cry. However, there was a prominent African-American sister at that time that basically begged me to stay because they were the only African-American a part of this association. So the sister kind of wanted me there as a support because sometimes, it's hard when there's not any of us in the room. So it's almost like we had an understanding that she wanted me there to kind of be her home base. However, this individual was, soror in a good, field. She had enough accolades to where I'm just going to say white women respected her. That same level of respect was not given to me. Over time, because I continued to show up and show my face, the ladies were comfortable enough to, give me little positions and, speak to me, because sometimes they used to not even speak to me. I remember one time walking into the room, I cried because every time we had a meeting, it's like, here we go. I'm, not going to feel welcomed. I'll be the last one to be greeted. And so I used to kind of just go and try to find a corner. And I remember praying and just asking God, like, just please, just be a light. Be a light. And I love when he has signs, because then as soon as I walked in the room, white lady walked up to me and says, excuse me, I don't know what it is about you, but you really stand out. It's almost like you have this glow. Why did she tell me I have a glow? God was confirming that, baby, I am always with you. Don't you ever walk in any room with your head down, feeling less, because everybody go to the same grave at the end of the day. There's nobody better than you, especially when they got the head start you didn't. Like, what are you feeling so down about? So that was one of the powerful moments that I needed, because he gave me confirmation. But then I learned that I needed to validate myself, because others were not going to do that, because we had a conference here one time and I didn't really want to pay the money. I didn't have the money like that to pay for that conference. So I volunteered, because when you volunteer, you get to be in the room for free. Just learn that. If you can't pay for that high ticket to all them good, volunteer, be a steward, because as a steward, you're going to stand, but you're going to hear all those great speakers. And so I was still giving access to certain individuals that I thought highly of at the time. But in volunteering in a certain room and helping, there was a certain individual there, one of the vendors, because I was volunteering in one of the rooms where the ladies that had just authored books would be in there selling. And there was a black engineer that I really wanted to meet. I thought so highly of her. And so while waiting for her, I'm volunteering and giving my services. Well, honey, those ladies started to treat me like the help. Oh, they started to treat me. It was just too much. And then they got to the point they weren't even looking me in my face. Like, just, I'll take another Coke, please. Can I get a water? And blah, blah. I was like, oh, no. So I went to the bathroom to go cry, as we often do. But then I wiped my tears and, had that pep talk that we need in the mirror to say, people will only treat you this way if you allow them to. So when I went back in the room, especially that one that was driving me crazy, she was like, I'll take another Coke. I said, well, actually, the refreshment table is over there, so feel free to help yourself. And that just felt so good to me. Like, check these people.
Yes.
Check them.
Right.
And then after I checked them, I walked up to the one woman and said, hey, I'm going to excuse myself from the room. I think everyone's been assisted, and I'll see you later. And then I walked into one of the other rooms where I wanted to hear the lady speak, and that wasn't my section, but I was in there anyway because I needed to hear her and have a pep talk. And that's what I did. I left the place that made me feel uncomfortable, but I promised myself that I would never allow anyone to make me feel small.
Right.
No, and that's a good point, because then if someone boxes you in with their ideas, and this is Women History Month, and as tough as it is on women, but see, even with white women have it tough, but in a male-driven...
Yeah, and not to say this because I do love some of my white sisters, but even when they have it tough, they've kind of used us as punching bags sometimes.
Because, and I was going to say...
Yeah, they had us that they could punch on in both.
Because success was tall, thin, and white. That's success.
Yeah, and she got to be delicate, and she got to be sensitive, where we had to be tough, but then on the same voice, if we're too tough, now we're mean, or we have an attitude problem. So it's just hard because it's like, okay, well, what do you want from me? If I'm tough, then I'm too tough. If I'm emotional, I'm not tough enough. It's like I have to have thick and thin skin. Like which is it?
Right.
And first of all, we're not all white and blonde.
Yeah.
So You have to be comfortable in the skin that you're in.
You have to be comfortable in the skin that you're in. And in finding yourself and in finding your comfort, it just allows you to be open to everyone.
That's true. Now, I would go into the question of asking you, and you probably can share even deeper when it comes to your biggest motivation. But I mean, I'm pretty sure some people heard some things that you said that oftentimes people overlook. You know, having that conversation with yourself, reminding yourself of who you are, what you're worth, regardless of, you know, who may have this degree or that degree. Oftentimes we get intimidated by that. So we come into a room and we feel like this person has this doctorate degree and this person is I guess better than us and we don't deserve to be in that room. You can have that type of intimidation from that person or just have the fear of just being in that room. What are some of the things that keep you motivated even to this day?
Honestly, because when it came to successful Black women, there was never an intimidation. I think I always got super excited, maybe even over excited.
That's a good thing.
When it came to somebody successful, because like, oh, they do exist. And so I would find myself even running home or calling and bragging about people. Like, I am really big on giving women their flowers because I know it didn't come easy. So it's like, man, she doing this, that, and like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I want to be a part of that. Like, she got it going on. Like, I live for that. So it's always been other successful women that have been pick-me-ups. And then don't let me see you with braids or natural hair. Like, I'm losing my mind, like big time. But I always seem to gravitate to that. But what's also helped is when other women thank you for what you've done, or you know, when people give you your flowers, because they don't really realize that we need to hear it because nobody else is doing that for us.
That's true.
No one is doing that. So there's so many times where you feel alone. And it is so nice to be reminded, like, no, you're not alone, girl. I see you. Mm-hmm. I see you. I'm clapping for you. I'm cheering you on. Keep going.
That's true. That's true. And she does that every time. And I'm proud of her when she does that because we do need that support within our community. We often, even with the brothers, we do that when we see brothers are doing great things. But go ahead, Minister.
No, what I was going to say, that's and it's extremely important, and you can kind of elaborate on this. Hopefully you see it, and if you don't, especially for our young sisters coming up, they need to be able to see other successful women, specifically women of color.
They do.
That look like them. And to know it's okay to be me, and I can be very successful being me. And it's like I don't have to be in I don't have to be in that box.
No.
And so it's like, and I know you do a lot with adults and youth, but just to touch on the importance of our young sisters coming up to know that they can have somebody that look like them.
The young generation has always had a special place, you know, in my heart. From different things that we've done and tried to have different conferences for the youth. What I do like too is, you know, just in my business, whether a person's coming to me because they say that they want to buy a house, or even when they're young in their 20s and they're just coming in the room with a W-2. It's like, what were you doing in there for 45 minutes? Talking to them about their career path, seeing what they want to do for college, pouring into them. It is so important that we pour into our next generation because they need that. And then inviting them to things so that they can get involved and get an idea of what business looks like. Because even with, you know, my first granddaughter, I became a grandmother so young. She would be 5 years old walking around the office with me and going to the printer and just doing different things. And now at 14, like, the girl has already had like 3 or 4 businesses. Wow. She's such an entrepreneur. It's like she has her Cash App that's making money, and it's just like, girl, I can't keep up. Like, she's a 14-year-old hairstylist. She does adult hair. She has her own page, but at one point she was making products and selling lip gloss and just like, but that's what we can do to them. And what's crazy is, when people give her compliments, she doesn't know how to take it because that's all she knows.
Right.
That's all she's ever been exposed to. She don't know any different. And that's how it should be.
That's a breeding ground for success.
Very much so. Even my youngest, I know he'll be successful. He negotiate now. He works very hard, but it's always for an exchange.
Okay, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
See, because when you mentioned like when you was in the beginning and printing, and it's like, but you got laser printer now.
Yes.
So it's a lot faster.
Oh yes.
And see, I can remember you years ago. And I'm gonna tell a little bit of your story.
That's okay.
Because it's like, and then you talked about
you wearing it from a different lens.
Because you talked about, and I remember Jacob. He was a minister, and that power of that. I mean, that series on
Awesome ones.
entrepreneurship. That when you take stuff like that to heart, see, you saw it, and even though when you were starting your business and you were leasing and you were in a smaller office, and I can remember when it was just one or two of you, but you made it work, and you as an entrepreneur, you pushed it and made it work. But that spirit of entrepreneurship, it's like you had a vision and a goal that, I need to have some power of ownership. So from leasing from someone else to fast forward to now to where you own your own business, own your own office.
Yep.
See, it's for you when your children and the grandchildren, or like for somebody with their first W-2, to be able to come into a black establishment, it means a lot. So you have to be able to, like people say, practice what you preach. That's not stuff we're supposed to talk about. But you're someone who has did it and actually do it on a daily basis.
Yeah. That is so true. Spiritually, I will say that and you can help me out, sir, or you can help me out, you're a minister, but one of my favorite scriptures that I used to always remind myself, so I should know it. What is it, Proverbs? But I would remind myself this in the beginning that, as a man thinketh in his heart and in his mind, so is he. I would always tell myself that because I was big on you have to manifest that life that you want for yourself. And oftentimes, because we don't know how to get there, we feel like there are so many obstacles, like one being, well, my credit is shot and I don't have no kind of money in the bank.
I ain't got no rich uncle or rich dad.
Yeah, nobody's rich. Everybody around me is broke. So you tell me, how do I go from broke, bad credit, and no money to the bank to owning a building or even owning a house? People get discouraged every day with home ownership. And that's one of the businesses we have. And I knew that that's what made me passionate about wanting to help people, because I know what it felt like to not have the cash and to not have the credit and to feel like it's just not possible for me. Yes, it is, because it's precept upon precept. Every day you have to work towards that goal, and you just can't give up, because success doesn't happen overnight. If your credit's horrible, having good credit don't happen overnight. It happens over time. So you have to. One of my best mentors always told me, if you want to be successful, stay consistent. And I always echo her words, even though those words got on my nerves when she told me that, because like, stay consistent in what, girl? I'm tired. What you mean stay consistent? You can't give me nothing else.
I want it now.
Right. Or tell me something else I'm supposed to be doing. What you mean stay consistent? She said stay consistent and it will happen. Right. And now here I am telling everybody else, stay consistent. And it will happen.
But you're a living testimony to that.
Yes, sir.
And who was that?
Judith.
Okay.
Judith Israel. Rest in power.
Yes, and now the reason I said that, because we're talking about Women's History Month.
Oh, and I needed her as a woman.
We want to make sure that we give all our flowers to all our women that has been a part of that journey. So at this time, if you wanted to highlight, what are some of those women that are close to you that have, been that inspiration to get you to the point where you are right now today?
Well, one woman I will have to give flowers to is my godmother, Joyce Trimble. And then there is Barbara Clark. And there is a woman, Liesel. And I'm naming these women because in my early 20s, when, again, my mind was just wrapped around entrepreneurship, I got a position I wasn't supposed to actually have because the Asian woman that owned the commercial building, I don't know who she thought Angela Dorelli was at the time, but she didn't think she was going to see the black girl that she saw. Like, she walked in the conference room like, oh, like, I still remember that. And, culturally, she didn't realize it was inappropriate to say to me, I wasn't going to hire you at first, but, a lot of my tenants are black, so maybe, you can talk to them. Yeah, she's crazy. And I'm like, what? Let me just take this job because I need it. And I became somewhat of the property manager. However, what made me stay is I had to kind of reinvent myself because the property manager they had before, they paid them twice the salary that they were paying me. However, that was my first experience with black women business owners. My godmother had came down from Flagstar Bank to open up a branch and was a correspondent lender and loan officer. So I would just watch people coming in and out of the office. I'd watch Liesel, run all the title. And they worked so hard, especially Liesel. Like, she reminded me, she worked too much. And I would see Barbara in the back, who was a school teacher, but also helping her then husband run their accounting firm. And so having that motivation, like, they all loved pouring into me. Like, they believed in me and they used to say, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. Like, we even got to set up a meeting and, incorporated our first business. And that was just such a big deal at that time. But it just felt good. I mean, my godmother, of course, she's my godmother. So she's still in my life. And she's retired, but I always tell her how great it was that she allowed me to see and be a part of her success because we need that. We need that exposure.
So it's definitely okay to look for those other successful counterparts that are out there.
Oh, absolutely. And gravitate to them. And that's what I think I love sometimes more so about the older generation. And I think that we have a duty to mimic them because those that came from, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, those that really had to deal with segregation and understand, redlining and knew what it was like to graduate from an HBCU or remember going to segregated schools where the teachers were black and the principals were black. I think that generation understands that we have a duty to one another. Now, because we grow up in diversity, we want to pretend that certain things don't exist, but they very much do. Also, somehow, some of us don't think it's okay to support each other because we're black. Like, no, but that couldn't be far from the truth. I mean, I've had Latino clients who have turned me down because they'd rather go and support another Latino individual. I've had this happen to me within the Asian community. I have friends that are of Indian culture. And yes, I get to come to their house to break bread, but when it comes to business, they're not breaking that kind of bread. And that's okay because they want to continue to see their own prosper.
Right. Yep.
And there's nothing racist or wrong about that. And so when they want that, it's like, well, I want that too.
That's true.
Oh, excellent point. Because that's something we have to be able to share. It's okay, but we have to translate that. And you said something earlier. We unfortunately sometimes would rather we tear each other down rather than build each other up.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to business.
And then even our value. For some reason, we think support means that, we should not charge a certain amount. It's like we don't think we're worth that.
We're getting the hookup. oh, I go to my people, I get the hookup.
Yeah.
Opposed to, I go to my people and get a service.
Absolutely.
And I'm contributing to feeding their family. I'm contributing to our culture. And I think oftentimes we overlook that part. And one other thing that is huge within our culture and our community is we have this stigma for one another. You know, and that stigma is, okay, I give you a chance, and you do it grudgingly.
Yeah.
You don't do it because you really want to. You do it grudgingly in hopes that something happened so that you can say, I told you so. That's why I didn't want to go there in the first place.
Yeah.
How often have you experienced that?
Too often, and of course in my younger years, I fell victim to that. So the practice was, being cheap. I used to convince myself that, hey, some money is better than no money. And we often do that. We'll say, some money is better than no money. Be thankful to take something than to have nothing. However, of course, earlier I said 17 years in business. That's 17 years worth of experience. You are going to pay me my worth to have access to me because I've been tried.
Right.
And, like I often tell clients that are new when they say, well, why choose us? One, I'm not afraid of the IRS. You could be wrong and I'm still not going to be scared because, hey, offer and compromise exists. Right. So there's always a solution. And so when you have someone that doesn't mind, because I always tell people, not only do I know how to read, I like to read. So I'm going to read. I'm going to do my research. That takes time. That's the kind of service that you have to pay for. You won't be alone in this, ever.
Right.
It's just what we believe in and what we do. And it comes from the belief that, I often feel, because if I don't do it, who else is going to do it for this person? You're a real person like me. We've had people that have come to us crying and afraid that they would lose their homes or lose their business, and how am I going to provide for my family? That's a language I can connect to. Of course I'm going to fight for you, but you have to pay for it.
Right.
I often tell people, I used to, when people are like, oh my gosh, that's how much you charge? I was like, well, I would honestly do this for free if I could. I would do this for free. I like to help people. But then I'd point to those kids. I said, you see them kids right there, though? Turn out they got to eat. Turn out I got to be the one to feed them. And we got to pay lights and water. But, if you got room in your house, maybe I can come live with you.
And bring them kids.
You take care of us and feed us. The client's like, okay, I get it. I get your point. Yes, please do.
Right. But that's something that you really, we have to share that a lot because we miss it. Like you said, in the hookup with a black business. Of course, one of our greatest quotes is the best for less.
Right.
But that don't mean nothing.
Right.
You
don't devalue your service.
Yeah.
Especially because you're a woman. Because when, I don't know who it is on this, if it's Duke Energy or OUC, they don't give you a discount.
They do not.
When you go to Target, they don't give discounts.
No, they
because
don't.
You're a black woman. You get stuff for half because you go to Target and your water, your electricity is half. They give you a hookup so you get it for free.
Yeah.
So how can you give your service for free?
Right.
And that's the reason other communities can flourish. They can thrive and flourish is because they support one another.
Absolutely.
And we have to. It's like we should be happy to support one another that way.
Right.
Sometimes I'll even take my calculator out and tell people, okay, well, how much do you think this service should be? Because, we deal with numbers. I'll let you know that, wait, 200? Okay, you know how many people you have to, look at this. This less than your salary. And this is a whole business. How do you think a business operates if this is the fee that you think is supposed to be charged? That's not realistic for the service.
I think people, when you talk about certain services, I think people overlook what you invest in your business to make sure that their service properly, making sure that they're secure as far as information wise. Like there's a lot of money that goes into making sure that happens. They only look at, okay, you providing this service for me, but we also provide audit
Protection.
defense and protection. Oh, you're doing just this service? No, we also provide a secure system that you can upload your information to. So there's a lot of things that goes
we've invested in.
that we
Absolutely.
invest in that people overlook because they're trying to devalue your service and who you are. And I think that's the biggest thing that happens within our community, and especially with our sisters and our women. The services are devalued
Absolutely.
because people don't value your service. And that goes all the way back to you knowing who you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the profession that was chosen is predominantly still to this day a white-dominated male field.
White male.
We're
white.
talking finances and lending. So to be a woman in that space, and then to be a dark-skinned woman in that space, of course I'm not supposed to know what I'm actually doing or talking about. But even when they feel like, okay, well, maybe she does, maybe she's a little smart, then it's, well, we're going to control your pricing. Like, why do you charge so much? Why do I charge so much? Did you not see all these plaques on the wall?
No, you're a black woman. When you go to the gas pump, you don't have to pay for your gas. You get yours free.
I sure do, apparently.
That's the way they.
Yeah, apparently I
Everybody get
do.
it free. And like the thought, and you make and I'm gonna point this out, especially a woman of color, and I love black women, and to be in finance, that means you're not supposed to know what you're doing.
No.
But think about the biggest crooks and criminals that do their Ponzi schemes and ripping people off and taking their money. What color are they and what gender are they? White males. But you continue to take your money to them when they've proven to be the one who most likely is going to give you a bad service or rip you off.
That's honestly a true statement, in my opinion, from professions and what we've seen. Now, I've never forgotten what was taught within our communities, that we would have to work 10 times harder and be 10 times better. And honestly, that is one of the best gifts God has ever given us, in my opinion, that we were put in a position to be 10 times better. Now, we shouldn't necessarily have to work 10 times harder, but that gave us a foundation to have a good work ethic about ourselves. So I find pride in always wanting to work 10 times harder, and especially being 10 times better, because that means with me, you're going to get 10 times the experience.
Yep.
That's true.
And that's how I put it. And that's something that you should want to pay for, because, you know, Ross, even Dollar General sells purses. But it's a reason why a woman strives to have, you know, a Louis bag.
Yep.
It holds the same stuff, I promise. I promise.
But it come at a different value.
But Louis come with a whole experience from the time you walk in that store. And so I always say, well, look, by the time you walk in my door with my businesses, I want to make sure that the client does get an experience. So we try to work hard to allow people to see your value. But even if they don't, or they refuse to see your value, that's their problem.
Brings up my next question. I know this got to be a tough one. What are some of the tough decisions you've had to make in business? Specifically as a black entrepreneur, what's some of them tough decisions you done had to make?
Oh, gosh. I think some of the toughest is letting go of people that don't mean you any good. Especially when they're family or they're individuals that you've known your whole life, that you love like family. One thing in my nature is I like to protect the things I love. However, you can't protect everybody, especially when they didn't ask for that protection. So the challenge has always been just learning how to let go and allowing myself to, heal from that. But to me, that's been my biggest of challenges, even though it's more of an emotional thing. But another challenge is, pushing ahead despite feeling like, maybe I wasn't necessarily qualified at the time. I think as entrepreneurs, we're always trying to qualify ourselves because people will ask you, well, what school did you go to? Did you pledge? Or what church do you belong to? There's always these qualifications sometimes that people will make you feel like you have to meet. I mean, yes, you don't want to be a dentist and not be licensed. There's certain things that you have to do. But you don't need society's qualifications. If it's in your heart to do, you do it. But sometimes moving out of your own way, because it's the truth. We beat ourselves up often. So it's like there's nothing that anyone else can do to you that you likely haven't done to yourself. That's the other side of you that kind of talks negative or want to talk you out of your blessing. So doing things in fear and being willing to move in fear, that's been a challenge, but it's clearly been a challenge that I've overcome because, as they say, scared money don't make money, but don't make no mistake, you be scared as heck. You be so scared sometimes. Man, taking risk is scary.
Yes.
Because the wrong risk can have you homeless, and that's just for real.
Well, let me say this, so I want everybody to hear it from a successful businesswoman. Have you ever made a mistake and lost money in business?
Heck yeah.
Say it again.
Heck
Have you ever lost money in business?
I want to say HE and 2 hockey sticks. Look. Absolutely. Lost money to stay in bed. I'm sick with the flu.
But see, the beautiful thing is when you're not afraid, you have a lot more wins.
Yes.
Then you're going to have losses.
It's the truth.
But fear, you'll never win.
No, you won't. You won't. I mean, I think too, being in the field that I chose, I often get to be around other entrepreneurs. And their stories haven't always been pretty as well. So not everyone gets to meet me for good reasons. So several people have met me and, retained me for bad ones because they were in a mess and a pickle. So being able to witness someone have it, lose it all, and get it again, that motivates you different. Or seeing someone at the very top of their game and lose it all and not recover, it hits home. So going through different experiences with clients has also helped, me to be better, empowered, because that's just business. You're gonna lose some money. But I've often looked at that bank statement I have with a business versus the bank statement I had with no business. And baby, those two bank statements look different.
That's a humbling experience.
Right.
That's a beautiful experience.
Yes, sir. Sure. And I said, I'm so happy that I ain't hold on to no job bank statements because I would have never saw this one.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, just kind of going back, and you talked about the struggles, and I'm glad you brought that point up. For that entrepreneur, business person that's in business or seeking to go into business, just listening to this show, just listening to you, they have to know that there's going to be some ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to go through some challenges, but you got to be consistent.
You do have to be consistent, and it helps to have some type of support system or people that ground you. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people. I'm so grateful because some people don't have their spouses. Yeah. Not every person's spouse is equally yoked to where, they may believe more in corporate America instead of entrepreneurship. So sometimes people don't even have their spouse. And they make it work for them.
Right.
I'm fortunate that I have a spouse that believed in me more so than I believed in myself. And then I've had a childhood friend that I would love to call, because that childhood friend makes me laugh all the time, because she's like, girl, please, you were opening bank accounts and you helped me complete my resume when we were 16. I'm like, I did what? And so, having those friends that can give you those flowers to say, no, this is definitely who you are. Like, you got this. Or, even having conversations where my mom had me laugh because I was nervous about something. And she was like, you're a woman king. And it's like, I didn't even know you knew what Woman King was. Who told you about that movie? Or even my aunt, may she sleep in power, who used to, just with her one little words, let me call my niece, because my niece is smart. If anybody know, my niece knows. Just, those people that keep you grounded to say, you know what, I can do this. I could do this. I got this.
Let me ask you this one, and I'm hoping you can answer it, because I know you're blessed to have a spouse, someone who supports you.
Yes.
100%.
Very much so. I couldn't have done it if I didn't.
But I know there are some wannabe entrepreneurs, black women, who don't have that, and will say, well, the only reason she was able to do it is because she had him in her corner.
He was just as broke.
But is that a reason to not, because they don't have it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you have the drive, because it goes back to that scripture. As a man thinketh in his heart and in his mind, so is he. And I always love the end of so is he, because it's about the power. And that's why I used to love getting into any books that speak on, the universe or even karma. There's so many different religions out there, but everyone to the core kind of always talks and speaks on the same thing, which is the power of manifestation. And me understanding that your outer life is a reflection of your inner life. Every decision that you've ever made in life got you to where you were. And I think I've always held on to that more than I've held on to anything else. So to me, it was always important that I control my thoughts. Like, I will purposely allow myself to daydream of the mansion and daydream of traveling the world and daydream of all the money that's going to be in my account. Because you have to think it. So I'm like, man, I got to think it and see me there. And there'll be so many times I'd get clouded because it's like I'm trying to think about all this money and success, and then Oprah pop up because she's successful. It's like, brain, don't do that. Put my face in there. Yep. Let me manifest me.
And I'm going to add to this, because I know you said it, you know it, but I'm going to say it so audience, from that ministerial poem, she's as so a man thinketh, because this woman,
yes,
that scripture is not, it is not based on gender. I know you know that,
yes,
but that's not a gender thing. That man is talking about is the mind. What you talking, see what you can manifest in your mind, because until you can see the mansion, until you can see the money, until you can see the family, it won't exist. But it begins in your mind. It begins in your man. So you say, so a man thinketh, that's not a gender thing.
No.
That's about you manifesting. Just
and there's no better feeling than when you sit down and say, dang, this everything I dreamed of.
That's true.
I dreamed of this. Like, dang, this is what I wanted for real. Like, is this really happening? Like, man, there's no better feeling. That's when you can't even sit down, because it's like, man, you better do it. You better do it. If I did it, why you can't do it?
That's one of those surreal moments.
Yeah.
When things that's come all together like that. All right, so for my listening audience, we're here live with Miss Finance Pro, and we're talking about this. We're in
that's a hot one.
Women's, I'm gonna say Herstory month, because we talk about his story, but we're gonna talk about her story.
I love it.
So we're in Women's Herstory month. And we want to recognize our women in business, and we have here live with us Miss Finance Pro, Abigail, a.k.a. Angela. And if any of the audience, anyone out there that want to chime in, just to, you have a question, you want to just chime in and shout out your business. If you're a woman in business, please, by all means, just, you can unmute yourself, or you can just, I think it starts, I don't know the different ways you can come in, but those are the ways that you can come in. If you're on YouTube, you can always send us a chat. We'll shout you out. If you're on Facebook, also we'll shout you out that way as well. But we do want to give all our women